Hey folks, Professor Brown or City Manager Brown here. I want to discuss week 5 for our class on emergency management planning and incident response. And so first I want to recap last week. First, the quiz. Everyone did very well on the quiz. I think the majority were A's and B's, mostly A's. So good job with that. 10-question quiz, 2 points apiece. So everyone either got 100, 90%, or 80%. So good job with that. I just want to make sure you're continuing to do the readings, keep up with all the activities in the syllabus, including the FEMA certificate program. So we'll have another quiz, maybe 2 moving forward, and I want to prepare you for the midterms. But again, this is an online class. The expectation is that you are doing your readings and working independently. There's no group work. So again, this is a part of professional development. You have to do the work on your own. But definitely good job on the quizzes, on the quiz, and keep that up. Just to recap last week, the discussion board question, I was very much impressed with the responses and the interaction related to the discussion board question. I asked you what emergency management planning challenges are there, and it was really based on the reading and what you understand and know about Homeland Security emergency management. And many of you all pointed out some very good things that are accurate. Education and training, limited funding, preparing citizens to take care of themselves and to plan and get the necessary resources for an emergency. And some of you all talked about the whole of community concept, where it's not just one agency or entity responsible for emergency management, Homeland Security, but how do you bring in all those other disciplines, fire, law enforcement, EMS, health, emergency management, the private sector, nonprofit humanitarian organizations. How do you pull all those folks together to deal with these large-scale emergencies? And that's what we're seeing over the last couple of weeks. Hurricane Harvey in Texas, Hurricane Irma, which devastated Florida, Hurricane Maria, which is damaged and destroyed much of Puerto Rico, who's dealing with an in-depth recovery process now. In each one of those instances, you have to pull together all the disciplines to work together for response, and then also for recovery, but also preparedness. How do you plan, train together so that when an event occurs, that all those different pieces fit well together and can respond and then recover. So all of you all had some really good ideas about testing and training. And these are all true. These are all challenges that emergency management faces. Even though it's held responsible for the success or failure of emergency response, there's multiple challenges that the field faces. And so as you move forward in your career, whether it's law enforcement, public safety, etc., you're going to realize that there are challenges to what the field can accomplish. But you still are held responsible for doing your job and doing it effectively. So here in Virginia, 70% of our budget comes from federal grants to sustain emergency management and Homeland Security. That creates a challenge because we've dealt with budget cuts and cuts to grants over the last couple of years. So how can you be expected to do more with less? Again, that's a big challenge. And pulling all those pieces together, as I mentioned, is another big challenge. So you all did think very creatively and critically. That's identifying the challenge. I probably wanted you to put a little bit more time in identifying the solutions to those challenges. So we probably will revisit that in a future discussion board question. But you always can identify the challenges or the problem, but you have to be very creative to identify the solution. So we'll probably look more in depth at that and how to outline a solution to preparedness and planning gaps in the jurisdictions that you are the emergency management director for. As it relates for this week, we're continuing the focus and theme on planning, and so you are required to read CPG 101, which is essentially the main resource for emergency management planning that FEMA releases. Is the main template for how plans should be developed, what plans should have in them, etc. So you're supposed to read Chapter 3 and Chapter 4. Also have in there the Commonwealth of Virginia Emergency Operations Plan. So anytime there's a major event like a hurricane or winter storm, the Commonwealth of Virginia Emergency Operation Plan, or as we call it, the COVOP, shows how all the different state agencies fit together to work collaboratively and support their individual responsibility, but underneath the umbrella of what we call the Virginia Emergency Support Team. So that is a good resource and a good example of emergency operation plan for a state. And then you're also supposed to complete the FEMA Independent Study Certificate, Introduction to Homeland Security Planning. And again, that's a good resource for how planners plan, what considerations they have to have in terms of putting it into their plan. And the discussion board question, again, goes back to this topic of plans. And so I'm asking you to do a little bit of research based on the jurisdiction that you're the director for, to find out what plans are public, what do they have on their website that's publicly available, and then to do a brief assessment based on the readings to see if the planning styles and templates, the information that's in them, is consistent with best practices, the best practices that are provided by FEMA. So again, I want you to think critically, assume that, again, you're the new emergency management director for the jurisdiction. You're trying to find out whether your predecessor was doing his or her job correctly or well, and then you're supposed to outline, what is missing, what's good about the plans, what's bad about the plans. Some of this is about public information. A lot of these plans shouldn't be classified. The public should have a way to monitor and understand what plans exist, because that helps them understand what threats exist. And so, maybe there's a gap related to public information sharing plans. So again, I look forward to another week of good discussion posts. They're all due tomorrow by 6 o'clock as usual. And then by Sunday, you should respond to 2 of your classmates' posts. But again, continue to think critically and strategically, and try to. I really want you to put yourself in the role of the emergency management director. Again, that is how the class is structured. I still am tardy with giving you an example of a good memo. I'll be doing that hopefully soon. I also want to share with you all how I'm grading the memos. Don't worry, everyone is in good standing now, but I do want to show you the criteria that I'm using to grade the memos. So that's all I have for this week. Again, a continued focus on planning. It builds off the previous weeks. And once you understand your threats and hazards, you then begin to develop a plan to hopefully prevent or either prevent something bad from happening, or being able to plan your response to something bad happening. So continue to do the good work. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns, and we can discuss that. All right? Thanks so much, and have a good rest of the week.